I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. So, if you listened to the last podcast, you would know that I was given, I guess, somewhat carte blanche to decorate my wife's coffee shop. And in preparation for that, I realized I own a lot of blow-up decorations, which don't fit or don't work in a coffee shop. I ended up using a lot of paper stuff and some light up things like light up pumpkins and a couple of blow molds. I didn't want to put anything really old in the coffee shop, so I used some of the newer stuff I have. But it turned out pretty good. I was I'm pleased with how it turned out. I wish I could add some more. I wish I could figure out a way to put my 12-foot skeleton in there, of course, but the ceiling's not tall enough. Probably add some more stuff as we get closer to Halloween, which, speaking of, we're almost to the end of August, which means September-ween. Then it is October, or Labor Day-ween. That's whatever you want to call it, September. It's almost time for Halloween, which is exciting. So a lot of people are getting ready to travel. A lot of people are getting ready to visit, make excursions. And one of the most popular places to visit is Salem, right? I've been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful area of the country. It's cool to see the cobblestone roads. It's cool to see all the history and I spent a lot of time when I was in Salem just walking around because I like to explore places on my own. And that's what I did. My family that was with me took trolleys and some of the tours and things like that. But I said, hey, I'm going to go just walk around. I walked down to the water. I walked down to uh, the, basically I just walked around until I got tired. I saw a lot of really cool stuff, took a lot of pictures. There's some beautiful architecture, and which I love. I one point in my life I wanted to be an architect. That did not work out, but hey, I'm happy with where things are. But before I get into my podcast today, I wanted to do an update. As you know, last week I spoke of a person named Halloween Weaver, and I thought it was cool that there was a person named Halloween. And I do want to apologize for, I think I may have done this before, but I want to apologize about just alluding to the fact that it was odd that someone born when they was named Halloween, because it just didn't seem like that would be a really popular name. But what I did figure out, because I did some more research on Grave website that I look up things on, and there was over 50 people so far documented that have had the first name Halloween, and a lot of them were named Halloween because they were born on Halloween, which is cool. So like, I found more people in the 1900s, like 1915, 16, 1903. There was a gunnery sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps who served in World War II named Halloween Aloysius Lefty Baggs, I believe is how you say it. That's cool. I found someone worked in a DeSoto shoe factory their whole life. I found a woman, Mama Haley. I found lots of cool people. The oldest name I found of a person called Halloween was from 1869. So that blows my whole uh, thing about naming yourself Halloween, because number one, they were not born on Halloween. They were born in September. But also, um, this was way before, you know, Halloween became hugely popular in the United States. So, I mean, the United States full of immigrants. I got to figure out why or when Halloween as a first name became such a big thing. Couple people from New Orleans. This person born in 1869 was named Halloween Haley Hovey Hagerman from Michigan. The coolest one I found so far, because I'm doing a lot of research, like I said, there's over 50 people with the name Halloween on a gravestone. I found a woman named Halloween Joan Martin, and I think her married name was Kurtzborn. She was born in October of 1900, and she was a very popular radio DJ in Chicago. So I'm going to do some research on her and find out. She seems to be the most popular person so far with the first name Halloween. But it was really cool to see all these names and look at all the tombstones and the grave markers, and a couple of people from the military. Here's another guy named Halloween Ross, born in Arkansas. He was a U.S. Army vet. He was born in 1944. In October, I found a woman named Halloween Hall, and she was an inmate at 17, married her husband Luther, and Luther, her husband, lived to be 109 years old. So it's really cool doing research on history and just people, and I'm having a lot of fun. I love history, you know. I did find one person born in Texas in 1908. They're the only one I've seen so far whose name Halloween is spelled with the apostrophe between the E's. So I thought that was really cool. But I'm recording another podcast later this evening. I'm crazy, I guess, but I found this post today, and it's by Salem, Massachusetts City Councillor Ty Hapworth. He posted something yesterday, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because not everybody has Facebook, not everybody will see this on social media, but I think this is a very important bit of information to read off to people and kind of, you know, what is your thoughts on it? I'm going to read it word for word. So thank you, Mr. Hapworth, Salem City Councilor, for publishing. He posted 2 articles on Facebook, and I'm going to read them off. This is him. It's that time of year again. Locals call it Septober. As someone who lives right in the middle of it all, I've gathered 13 pieces of advice to help you navigate Salem this season. So this is really good advice for people visiting the town from someone who lives there. So number 1, there's a huge difference between October weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Salem, and October weekdays. On weekends, roads are at full capacity, parking is non-existent, and crowds fill Essex Street. Finding a table at a restaurant or a ticket to an attraction can be nearly impossible, with even retail stores having lines out the door. These weekends are for those willing to endure long waits or just come for the spectacle and costumes. Weekdays, however, are just busy. While you should still avoid driving, you can get into shops, restaurants, and most attractions. Local businesses prefer visitors on weekdays as they understand many are deterred by the perception of massive crowds. And this is absolutely true. Salem gets busy during October and September. Number 2, we love our crosswalks in Salem. As a pedestrian-friendly city, many residents navigate daily without cars, using crosswalks and expecting the right-of-way. Drivers stop for pedestrians in crosswalks. Pedestrians use crosswalks when crossing busy streets. Don't expect drivers to see you if you're not in one. So basically, don't jaywalk, right? Number 3, walking tours are an excellent way to learn about Salem. Local companies provide a world-class experience worth every penny. Out-of-town companies often fall short. And now he addresses this in the comments. Somebody brought up the fact that they work for an out-of-town company and they do an excellent job. So just do your research, right? Number 4, don't let your kids swim in the East India Fountain. If you know anything about that fountain, you'll know why. Number 5, Salem is not a quaint New England village and never has been. It's a bustling, dense, diverse, and complex city where houses from the 1600s stand next to busy streets. This mix is the magic of Salem. If you want quaint, charming, and quiet, Salem won't be for you. But if you want historic, unique, rich, and vibrant, that's Salem. Absolutely true. Salem is not like a picture town where nothing happens. There's always something going on, and it's busy all the time. Number 6, this is very, very, very important. Salem is also not a theme park. With 45,000 residents, most of whom don't rely on the tourist trade, it's a city where people live, work, and go about their day. Unlike Disney World, Salem doesn't control the guest experience. There won't be enough parking. Some houses will be decorated, some won't, and the quality of street performers will vary. Appreciate Salem in all its uniqueness, but don't expect a curated Halloween theme park. It is a town where people live. Number 7, our retail employees, waitstaff, and small business owners are our friends, family, and neighbors, and they are probably exhausted too. Treat them with kindness and tip generously. They need it in October. October is definitely the busiest time of year for Salem. Number 8, we are no longer allowed to permit or Corey check street performers, so that Michael Myers impersonator could be anyone. Spend time on social media to familiarize yourself with well-known performers like Bora, wonderful, Larry the Frankenstein, Addams Family, Uncle Boogeyman, Dennis the Zombie, Tiny the Clown, Pennywise Brandon, just to name a few. Or use your best judgment before letting your kids take photos with them, and make sure to tip. Now, also in the comments mentioned Jack Skellington and Free Hugs from Satan. They are also reputable, and Goat Girl of Salem. Those are listed as reputable people. When you go to Salem, you'll see these performers all up and down the street. It's awesome. Number 9, if you see Bora, tell her to have a horrible day. It will warm her rotten black heart, which is absolutely true. Number 10, don't use the bathroom in the Witch City Mall if you know you know. But do patronize the great small businesses there. Number 11, the Peabody Essex Museum is a world-class museum and absolutely worth the price of admission. Build it into your itinerary. That is wonderful advice. Number 12, get up early before the crowds and walk the McIntyre District and or Derby Street neighborhood at sunrise. You won't regret it. You won't regret, honestly, walking anywhere. The neighborhoods there are wonderful. Everything's, close enough that you can walk a lot of things. Number 13, while locals can sometimes be a little grumpy about the disruption, we're proud that you have chosen to spend your vacation in this city we love. We truly appreciate you and want you to have the best time here, but we still look forward to November 1st. Happy Halloween. So that is the first post by Ty. Wonderful, wonderful advice if you're going to visit Salem. I suggest, as with anything, do a lot of research, figure out what you want to do, but kind of, somewhat go into it just open. Like, you're going to find stuff that you didn't realize, or you're going to stumble into something you didn't know was going on. There's a lot of things that could happen, which is awesome. But, don't get mad that not every house is decorated, and don't get mad that whatever, because this is people's house. This is people's city. Like, they're there all the time. This is where they live. It's not a vacation for them. So he followed up, because of such wonderful response to this post, he followed up with another post today that basically follows up with his original 13 tips when you're visiting Salem from a local. So this post goes hand in hand with the post I just read. So thank you again, Salem City Councillor Ty Hapworth. I think a lot of this stuff is maybe something that was hard to post because it's so honest and truthful, but it needs to be said. So here he goes. Yesterday I shared 13 tips from a local on visiting Salem. These tips sparked a lot of conversation among both locals and potential visitors. With that in mind, I'd like to share 13 more tips for being respectful when visiting Salem. Often we focus on the most outrageous behavior, but in reality, most visitors just want to experience the city, respect the residents, and absorb the history. So here are 13 tips for doing just that. Number 1. Now this might offend or upset a lot of people. But number one, you are not the descendants of the witches that they didn't burn. As my kids would say, that's some serious cringe. First, they weren't witches. They were terrorized Puritan women and men who were tragic victims of hysteria. Second, they weren't burned. They were hanged next to what is today a Walgreens drive-thru. And third, just don't. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what people think about that. Number two, most Salemites feel protective of the victims of the trials. Anyone who has lived here for more than a couple of years knows their names, their stories, and feels their tragedy. This may seem strange since this city throws a big Halloween party and calls itself the Witch City, but for most of us, there's a clear separation between the human tragedy that happened in 1692 and the roundabout history that brought us to Hocus Pocus and Bewitched. Mind you, this is still controversial here in Salem, with some residents wishing the city would shed the Witch City label altogether. But one thing all residents can agree on is that the victims of 1692 are not your punchline. Jokes about hanging or burning are in very poor taste. Go ahead and have your fun with Winifred and Samantha, but please leave your jokes about Bridget Bishop and Giles Corey out of it. Number three, the I Got Stoned in Salem shirt is in poor taste. Yes, some shops sell it, but we all judge you when we see you wearing it. Number four, I know many tourists love those felt floppy witch hats, but just lean into it and go with the full traditional hat. It objectively looks much cooler. I said what I said. Uh, Number five, you should absolutely enjoy our 3 historic cemeteries. They are incredible. However, you should not touch the stones or tombs or sit on them. These were real people who lived, loved, and died. Their tombs are not a place to rest your legs, change your baby's diaper, or enjoy fried dough. Please be respectful. Absolutely. Please be respectful. These are places of rest. Number 6, don't walk 3 abreast on the sidewalk. I think the sidewalks there actually have like a divider, so you can tell, like, because a lot of people walk there, so you got to share the sidewalk. Number 7, if you wouldn't want someone to do it in your house, don't do it to ours. Imagine someone sitting on your steps, plucking flowers from your garden, or looking into your windows. We are a dense city, and many of us live near historic sites, but these are still our homes. Please be mindful. Number 8, if you don't have anything nice to say on Yelp, don't say anything at all. Our local businesses work incredibly hard in October. Yes, they may run out of things, waits will be long, they will be super busy, and they may be understaffed, but give them some grace. Absolutely. If you're going to go in October, be ready to deal with crowds and everything taking longer because there's so many people there. Number 9, read the historic signage. The number of boyfriends I've seen confidently tell their girlfriends that the Ward House was the house of the 7 Gables is too high. And if all else fails, you could just count the Gables. There's actually, it says haha, but I laugh because I think that's funny. Number 10, don't walk in the street. Number 11, the Hocus Pocus house is not a tourist attraction. It's in a residential neighborhood and people live there. Over the last decade or so, some tourists have gotten bolder, knocking on the door, sitting on the porch, crowding around the home, and looking in windows. Please show respect. During October, the street itself is closed to non-resident vehicles, and there are many other things you can do and see that are less disruptive to residents. Number 12, the City of Salem expands resident-only parking dramatically in October. This year, we will also be using license plate readers to more quickly catch, ticket, and tow violators. Do not park on residential side streets. Your car will not be there when you get back. Speaking of parking, there are days in October when we see 100,000 plus visitors. There is no possible way to park even a tiny fraction of those vehicles. Plan other ways to get into Salem. You will thank yourself. And I think that's part of what, you got to think in the broader terms. Salem, is not a very big place. Like, a lot of the stuff is within so many blocks. So imagine cramming all these people into, this small area and expecting everything to function like normal. It's not going to. Number 13. This is the big one. Enjoy yourself. As I mentioned yesterday, which is the post I read earlier, it can be frustrating to live in Salem in October, but deep down we all just want you to love the city the way we love it. Soak up the history, be kind to our retail workers, servers, and small business owners, tip generously, and have the best time. So that's the advice from Mr. Ty Hapworth, who is Salem City Councilor. I would love to hear what you guys think of it. I think it's some wonderful advice. I really just wanted to record this podcast to verbatim read what he wrote because I think it's excellent. As someone who's visited Salem and really wants to go back, I think this is information that can help anyone who's been there 100 times or never been there ever, because it's just a general reminder that Salem is a town, not a tourist, not a theme park. It is a wonderful tourist attraction, but it's a functioning city. So people are there trying to do work and trying to get to, their kids, and they're there living. So respect that, and always, always, always preserve Halloween.